The championship talk has moved on to the bronze stuff that we were talking about. Drew White will get his 2 cents in, so to speak. The next one that they got rid of was the World Tag Team Championship. We used to have two Tag Team Championships in WWE, if you'll remember back to 2010, and the Hart Dynasty held one of them. I think they were the last one, right? Yeah.
They were no, it was Carlito and
Primo.
Primo held one, and then Morrison and Miz held the other.
I thought that the Hart Dynasty beat them for it.
No.
Yeah, all right. I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at it right now. They beat
champions.
they beat Show Miz. Hart Dynasty.
They were the final undisputed champions. This was when they did their title was the undisputed titles at one point. They were the undisputed tag team champions, and then they became the WWE tag team champions. Get your facts right, Mango. You're a journalist.
Come on.
Shame on you.
I'm on Wikipedia right now.
What is this, WrestleZone?
It shows Hart Dynasty at the last.
Tony?
Bush League, man.
No.
So,
League.
yeah.
Nice one there, Eisenberg.
The last, according to Wikipedia, I'll put that out there, the last reign is the Hart Dynasty beating Show Miz. The World Tag Team Championship deactivated at the time. They merged that together as just the WWE Tag Team Championship. An incredibly smart move because the idea behind two tag team championships on two rosters only makes sense if you have a big enough roster that you need that brand split to happen. If you don't need that anymore, you get rid of it. You have one set of titles. And I was so happy that they did that. And then when they made that belt and they have those copper penny titles, I was just like, god damn it. They really should have kept the old titles that, the people like the Road Warriors and, well, you want to call them Legion of Doom, either one.
They were beautiful titles.
Those titles, they might look a little old and a little outdated or whatever, but hell, they just proved it by bringing the Intercontinental title back. Sometimes the old things work.
I love those titles. I think.
I was supposed to get my I thought I was supposed to get my 2 cents on it.
Well, that's the one title in the other one, the 2 pennies.
I know. Can I say what I want to say? Just to get this out of the way.
Go for it.
Sure.
I liked the red and the blue on the tag team titles when they were the WWE tag team and the World Tag Team titles. And they probably should have merged them together back in 2007 or 2008 when their roster wasn't as deep as it was in 2004. But and it's also hard to fill 2 tag team championship slots on a pay-per-view card, especially when you got to the whole brand split thing. You would have matches on both you'd have pay-per-views, every pay-per-view is you'd have Raw and SmackDown and ECW all on the pay-per-view. It's hard to put all these championships on the pay-per-view and still have time to put feuds that don't need a title as well. So to me, when they did the merge the 2 titles together, I thought it was cool, but they fucked it up when they had the copper penny titles. I wish they would have just kept the blue WWE tag team title because that title was beautiful, and that's my favorite title in the history of titles.
Miguel, Burhan, what do you guys think of the old double split tag titles and everything like that?
I think it was a necessity.
I liked it when they had 2 tag divisions.
Yeah, I think it was
We'll go with Miguel first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I wasn't sure who was going to say, but I think it was obviously a necessity. I mean, if you were going to have 2 separate divisions, you needed 2 separate belts, especially once they stopped swapping champions like they did, because they originally started. It was going to be an undisputed title for 2 brands, and wasn't it the tag team division was going to be split between the brands early on, and then they decided.
At one point, the tag titles were going to be roaming the brands. The Undisputed Championship. No, the tag titles were going to be on one brand. The mid-card title was going to be on the other brand. Then they had the women's title on one brand and a cruiser on the other brand. And the world champion was going to be migrating both brands. But then they changed it where you had 2 world titles, 2 tag team titles, 2 mid-card titles, and the Diva and Cruiserweight title before they got rid of that and then made 2 Divas Championships.
Yeah. And then, they started merging them together and all that, which was smart.
Yeah.
I think it, like I said, it was a necessity back then when you had the two brands and it seemed like they were really serious about it. And I'll even give them enough leeway when ECW was around, because it seems like that at least the WWE tag belts really got a second wind when they were all around Miz and Morrison's belts, when they were with Miz and Morrison on the ECW brand. I think that really did put more emphasis on those two belts. Once ECW died, I think we can all agree we didn't need two belts anymore. Even when you had tag teams like Show Miz and DX facing each other, it was pretty much useless. Um, it's hard for me to say how I feel, because it's not like we lost the tag team division. It's still there.
Mhm.
We still have belts, so you can't really call it a defunct belt, because it's just an evolution. It evolved into the new belts we have now. I do admit, I think they are the new belts called the World Tag Team Championships.
I think it's just WWE Tag
WWE
Team.
Tag Team Champions.
Yeah.
See, that bothers me, because the name World Tag Team Championships actually has way more of a lineage. It actually was what the titles were called before they were unified. The WWE tag belts only have a lineage going back to their days on SmackDown. The World Tag Team titles, those are the ones that, were held by Tony Atlas and, Rocky Johnson and the Road Warriors and all these guys. So it's unfortunate that they retired the name, but, I mean, the division's still there.
Burhan? Any other thoughts?
I agree 110% with Miguel. I just think they should get rid of those damn belts and put the World Tag Team titles back. I think that in terms of depth, they need to really start invigorating. It's the same in the mid-card division, really. They need to reinvigorate those divisions, and the problem is they're lacking focus on it. There's hope that with the current storyline that's going on at the moment, they're going to start doing that again. Because this seems, I don't know about any of you guys, but this seems a lot like the Attitude Era, where you're having one storyline encompassing the entire company, which is a good idea. Mm-hmm. And in terms of that, hopefully that will reinvigorate things. I miss the brand split. I'm the only guy that misses the brand split.
Oh, no.
And I think it was a great thing.
Oh, I missed the brand split 100%. Because there's no need for Alberto Del Rio to appear on both Raw and SmackDown each week. Kind of like how they have, no, not just him. I was just singling out because everyone seems to hate him. But the one thing I miss is the WWE draft. I was always a big fan of that. That episode of Raw was always fun to watch, because even though John Cena went from SmackDown to Raw, which is stupid, and I hated that draft. But besides for that, I've really enjoyed all of the drafts for the most part.
I think the drafts and the whole concept died out when they realized that SmackDown really doesn't have the roster to hold itself up anymore. I think when you had the likes of
That's
Edge,
not their fault.
Yeah, that's WWE's fault.
That's not their fault.
I know that's
WWE's fault.
I know it's WWE's fault. When you had the likes of a Dave Bautista, an Edge, and with Undertaker when he was more full time, when you had that kind of talent on there, you could afford to have SmackDown only pay-per-views and Raw only pay-per-views. Once that died down, SmackDown kind of became very much a B show, unfortunately. Through no fault of its own, it defeated the purpose. I would love to see them splay the talent out more, but Raw's 3 hours now. It's the flagship show. They kind of have that's where you put all of your talents. It's kind of like the Nitro Thunder problem. Thunder was originally going to be that same level, and quickly it just became kind of the B show for what was the bigger product.
But it was the booking.
Well, before we get too much into the whole brand split, because we're not talking about the brand splits here, we're gonna keep this on the championships. Final thoughts on the idea of splitting the championships. Are we all in agreement that it's so much better that they only have one tag team title now?
Yes.
Yes, because there's no division.
All right, and that brings us into one of our final ones. There's only two left really to talk about, and that was another one that was split, and that was the women's championship.
Okay.
The women's championship and the Divas championship were originally the women's championship was the one with all the lineage behind it, with Fabulous Moolah holding it for 30 fucking years or whatever she held it for. And the Divas Championship was the newer one, and that was the one that as soon as they came out with that, everybody was like, "Oh my God, the fucking butterfly!" And then that's the one that they kept, and people went nuts about it because they thought, "Oh my God, you're not keeping the old title." While I'll agree with that, I am very happy that they went with the name Divas Championship because I'm actually one of those people that is more fond of the idea of them having the WWE Tag Team Championship, the WWE Divas Championship, WWE Championship, not throwing the the word world into everything and classifying it women's, because if they're going to go with superstars and divas, you don't really need to say women's championship. It's kind of redundant. But you can call it the Divas Championship because that's more brand recognition. I don't like the title, having the butterfly. It looks pretty stupid. It looks like a little toy. And if they want to go with something that looks a little bit more prestigious, they should have something better. But that
It was
women's
a better
champion,
design though than the previous title. That was terrible.
that women's championship thing was ugly as all hell. That oval with the red text in it, that was
The
hideous.
flames, yeah.
That was hideous. So I'm all for the butterfly if that's the alternative to it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You have the Divas title and you have a butterfly, but here's the kicker. It's a Divas title and you have Diva in the name. What else are you supposed to use as like a logo for the title?
Mm-hmm.
You're pretty much like declaring that it's a really feminist title.
Right, you need something
Be
kind
careful
of.
be careful how you use that word around Burham.
I know. I'm trying. As soon as I said that, I was like, oh shit.
Give it to Anita Sarkeesian.
You should do that. Just send her a Divas title in the mail.
She ain't worth the money.
I
I wouldn't even pay her if she had sex with me.
But yeah, Divas Championship, the way that overtook the Women's Championship, although I would have rather them kept the lineage behind it, I'm perfectly fine with them calling it the Divas Championship.
You know what's weird? When I was younger, I was completely fine with a women's championship and a Divas championship at the same time. It might have just because they were females and they were hot, but yeah, like I was completely fine with it until like last year. It was like, oh, it makes sense now. I'm glad they did this.
What do you think, Burhan?
I think at the time the Divas Championship was meant as a championship for the unskilled women on SmackDown. And the Women's Championship was for the women on Raw who could actually wrestle. Now it just doesn't matter, and I don't care. What's her name? AJ has it now, and she's hot, and she's got a nice ass, and she's telling the Bella Twins to fuck off, so that makes me want her even more. AJ, call me.
Miguel?
Please.
I think it's very apropos that the belt became the Divas title, because you look at the level of talent in the late 90s to the 2000s when it was the women's title, and then you look at the level of talent now. It's such a stark drop off. And I know that in the days of the Pretty Mean Sisters, there wasn't that much of a lineage with the women's title. I mean, for God's sakes, Stephanie McMahon was the women's champion at one point, but you did have that core of women in that division, especially in the early 2000s, that could bring it, that did bring a level of wrestling to the division. And
they were very aggressive as well, which helped.
Yeah, it was worth calling it the women's title. It was an actual division. Nowadays, when you've got basically most of the women in that division are former models, and you've got stuff like the Diva Search in there, I'm okay with it, because to me it just reflects the division as it is now. I don't mind it being the Divas belt. To me, the division itself has pretty much become a prop. It's a gimmick. I hesitate to say joke because I might be too strong of a word, but it's nowhere near as prestigious as it was back then. So
what? When that whole division went downhill is the moment when Kelly went on SmackDown saying how prestigious it is to do Playboy. That's when it pissed me off.
I don't think
that's when the division went, fuck this.
I was bothered when Candice Michelle got the belt. I think that, to me, is when it started to go downhill, and then you started to see others.
Normal Candice Michelle or overweight Candice Michelle?
You know what? I don't care if she has a little extra meat on her. I would. It gives me
No,
more.
no. She didn't have extra meat. She literally looked like King Bundy at one point. She came back and she had everything hanging out. It was, I'd still do her, but it would have to I'd have to have a blindfold.
I wouldn't. I don't have as much of a high standards as most people, so I'm okay with that. But like I said, the division just over the years just became more and more of a joke in terms of the talent, and so I'm okay with it. It does suck because I am a traditional wrestling fan. I would like there to be some prestige to a division, but it is what it is nowadays.
And the last title that we're going to talk about, save this for last, not only because it's the last one that was retired in WWE, but it's also fitting with this episode, is the $1 Million Championship. Only 4 people have held the $1 Million title. And obviously 2 of those were Ted DiBiase Sr. and Ted DiBiase Jr. The 2 other people were Steve Austin, when he was known as the Ringmaster. What a stupid idea. And Virgil, who I shouldn't have to explain his relationship with Ted DiBiase. This is a title that Ted DiBiase Sr. got when he should have been a world champion.
Do you know the story behind that?
What, behind why
DiBiase didn't get the title?
Honky Tonk Man.
Honky Tonk, because originally he was supposed to win the belt when Savage won it, and Savage was supposed to win the Intercontinental title from the Honky Tonk Man, but Honky politicked and got that changed, and so instead of giving Savage the IC belt, he ended up giving Savage the WWE title in return, and Ted DiBiase got angry about it and decided instead to create this $1 Million belt as kind of an FU, but it ended up working out in the end.
It wasn't actually a creation. It was Vince was like, well, you're the $1 Million Man, and so you're too rich to be WWE champion, so have the $1 Million belt to show how much of a $1 Million Man you are. Do I get to defend it? No.
I like the idea behind the $1 Million title, but it only works for Ted DiBiase. It didn't even work for Ted DiBiase Jr. It could have, but they just dropped the ball with that, and Ted DiBiase Jr. did as well. But it's not one of those titles that you can ever bring back, especially now that there's no DiBiase on the roster. You can't just suddenly have Del Rio bring back the $1 Million Championship or something. It's fun for what it is, and
the million pesos championship.
Yeah. It's got a cool design to it. Like it's a perfect type of title that you can buy as like something fun. And you use that as like something between your friends of like, oh, we pass around this title for whoever like gets like, if we were to like do this for the fantasy league, you win the $1 Million title, like that kind of a thing. It's perfect for that. For WWE television, it's outlived its usefulness, and now that DiBiase's gone, you can't bring it back.
You know what they could do, though? They could have the primetime players win the tag team titles.
Millions of dollars championship?
Yes. Millions of dollars. Millions of dollars.
I tell you what, though, even though I would hate them to actually legitimately do that, if they brought that out for like one segment, I would laugh my ass off.
I do have to ask, Tony, more or less prestigious than the FTW title?
The FTW?
More.
Yeah.
More.
Much more.
Drew, I know you're
Drew,
I know you're too young to remember this title, but basically it was back in the ECW days. It was Taz's way. I think he had just lost the ECW title, so he started carrying around a fake orange belt called the FTW title, his own little belt. And I think it basically bounced between him and Sabu at one point.
You know what FTW stand for, right?
For the win?
Fuck the world.
Fuck the world.
I know. I was being sarcastic. If he did it today, people would think it's for the win.
Right.
Yeah, it was FTW 13 is whatever he uses it, and it's literally it started up as fuck the world, and now he coins it as for the win.
Yeah. PG era.
Taz. God damn it.
I think it's just Taz.
Technically,
the first thing in commentary since Mike Adamley.
Well, quick question: since the the show is technically off the air, does that mean the Internet Championship belt is now defunct?
Well, they never really classified that as like a true title. That's why I never added it into here. But I don't know. Like, how is Zack Ryder classifying that? Did he say that that's like done, or I don't know. I haven't watched this show since it switched over to WWE because when it switched over to WWE, it just didn't seem as entertaining as the other one.
Yeah. I lost all meaning. They kept screwing with the show until it eventually just got cancelled. But the title itself is just, it never had any worth. It had his face on it. I'm not gonna like fight for a championship that has some dude's face on it. Oh look, I want a title with your face on it.
I tell you what, though, that would have been kind of cool if when he was feuding with Dolph Ziggler, if they would have brought that into the storyline. Even if it would have been just not something like the Defended or whatever, but even if he would have just been like, oh, I don't need your title, I got the Internet title, and it could have been like, title versus title or some crap. Like,
he once defended the title against John Morrison in a dance-off. Exactly.
Yeah, $1 million title. That's one of those things that
we hardly knew you.
If we're talking gimmicks and stuff, it's as gimmicky as you could possibly get. And it was awesome for its idea, but you can't bring it back.
No, because it was a gimmick. That was it. And when it went to Virgil, it was just like, he's keeping it because it's DiBiase's possession. We knew that DiBiase would eventually get it back. Mm-hmm. I remember that vividly because it was one of the first things I read in WWE Magazine when I was a kid, because we never used to get it over here. And I always used to read WWE Magazine because I was poor. I never had satellite TV. And that's a funny thing. I'm still poor and don't have satellite TV. But yeah, it's one of those things. I always used to read about him and how awesome he was. And, for me, I think they should have given him the WWE Championship. It would have meant so much more than him losing out the way that he did and having that title. It's nice for him to show how wealthy he is. But the only person who really benefited from it was Vince McMahon, who's now got it locked away in a safe because apparently it's worth like $15,000 because of all the diamonds that are encrusted in the damn thing.
My memories of the $1 million title actually are from SummerSlam '91. My parents have an old VHS tape that they recorded off from the live showing, and one of the big matches there was Ted DiBiase versus Virgil for the $1 million title. So I remember watching that matchup. I remember when, I think it was Sensational Sherry came out, cost Virgil the matchup.
Virgil.
And I think it was either the referees or Jack Tunney or something came out and had the matchup restarted, and Virgil ended up winning the belt.
Yeah, it was when Piper was in Virgil's corner, and it was so funny because Piper was on the crutch at the time. He came out, his own music, and he goes, Virgil! And Virgil came out dressed in some weird red spandex trunks things, and then wrestled DiBiase. And it was just like a de facto feud. Virgil, he was his black slave. It was hilarious because the fact that the black slave was turning on his master. I was just sitting there, I was like, this is the most racist storyline I've ever seen in my life. Oh, God.
So basically that's a rundown of some of the old championships that actually had some purpose to them. We didn't talk about the other ones that didn't because who the fuck cares?
We're not going to talk about some of the TNA defunct titles?
Hell no.
Okay.
TNA in itself is defunct.
What's TNA?
Nothing. It's just a backwater promotion where some wrestler who won a title at WrestleMania, I think it was 10. Don't worry about him.
I think my favorite TNA rip that somebody did was actually, it was at the Jim Cornette roast, and it was Missy Hyatt was making the joke, and he's like, Jim and Dutch Mantel have done a lot of charity work over the years. They recently did several years with a nonprofit organization called TNA.
So for those that are interested in what is going to be the special feature next week, we're going to keep the Night of Champions theme going. And we're actually going to tell you the fantasy booking situation that we would set up for who would be the champions in WWE right now, according to us, if we were on creative.
Ooh.
And then, of course, we're going to run down Night of Champions on episode 97. with the predictions and the monthly mailbag. We're going to do the review, captions, fantasy league stuff, and everything on episode 98. Episode 99, we're going to continue for one more time the championship talk, and we're going to do a big tournament in one shot of who is the best Grand Slam champion of all time. Episode 100 is going to...
That's easy, me.
Episode 100 is going to get us out of the championship stuff, and we're going to be starting to talk about Battleground and some other announcements and everything. But for now, that is going to do us in for all the content for this episode, and the only thing left to do is to start going into plugs. What's the first plug? You guys know it by now. Sign Me Up initiative. Bring a Smark Out Moment sign to any kind of a wrestling event. Doesn't matter what it is, where it is, who is doing it, who's running it, even if it's in your backyard and, you know, you've got some fans popping up or something for a bouncy house wrestling federation.
Yeah.
Go ahead, bring that sign and send me a picture or a video of it, and I'll put it up on the next episode of Smack Talk. I will make my round a little bit later with all the other stuff, but I'm going to move on to Drew.
If you ever brought a Smark Out Moment sign to any of my bounce house deliveries, you deserve to be on Smack Talk. Okay, I think that's fair enough. I mean, you kind of. I'm gonna do my plug. Anyways, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep this short because I'm a little tired now. But yeah, everyone knows the drill. Bounce houses. If you need one, give me a call. 765-212-1521, or you could go to BigBlastRentals.com, where we have the 5-star bounce house.
Miguel.
I hate to plug this only because I haven't really added much in a while, but you guys know my blog on fanboysanonymous.com, 90s Kid Presents. I've been very slow as of late just because I got so burned out from work. I've been pulling extra duty over the summer, so I've been really lax about it, but hopefully once my financial system gets into place and I can add more games to my collection, I can keep adding stuff to it because I'm starting to run out of games worth mentioning. I mean, I've got the classics, but really, how many things have been made about something like Super Mario World? There's nothing I can really add about that. But I'm going to see what I can do. In terms of other projects, I'm going to try to start up on those scripts for... Burhan, help me out here, please.
This job for hire.
This job for hire.
This job for
Come on.
Step one, title.
He's a writer on the show, and he doesn't even know the name.
That's fine. Vince Russo wrote for WWE, and he never sat in for a match. But anyway, this job for hire. I'm gonna be writing some scripts for that. I just need to find some time. So hopefully tomorrow, with nothing else planned, I can spend some time and just finish that up there. And other than that, there's not much for me else to plug. So fanboysanonymous.com.
All right, Burhan.
www.nerdgenius.com, www.fanboysanonymous.com, and also you can check me out tomorrow night at 8 p.m. on Saturday for I Got Gameplay with myself, Miguel, Samantha Jennings, Lee Garasich, and loads of other hosts, including Travis Goss, of course. We can't forget you, Travis. And we'll be discussing retro versus new. What's the best one? And we'll break down a few retro games, a few new games, talking about exactly what they meant to us and why we think they're awesome. And we're going to leave it up to the host to basically run down their top 5 retro and new games. Give us a nice little list of what they like and what they don't like. So make sure you tune in for that show. It's going to be awesome. And also make sure you check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/TheNerdGenius, where you can watch This Job for Hire, starring myself and Brandon Ligon. And you can also check out the vlogs that I'm doing at the moment, including the current one, where I'm talking with my brother Jonah about the guy that is Ben Affleck and his casting choice as Batman and why we think that's okay. So check that out, guys, and let us know what you think in regards to that. And just stay tuned to all my projects, because I'm doing loads of stuff at the moment. Loads of things are happening, and good things are popping, little things stopping, as so Tanya would say. Actually, you kind of fucked up when you tried
Yeah,
to
that
say
was
it. So,
that.
so
What
there
did
you
I
go.
say? It was something like big things. What are they happening or something? It was awful.
Yeah.
Whatever I did.
Oh, and
And then we all laughed at you.
just as a side note for Mr. Burhand, he beat Nintendo.
Yes, he did. YouTube
And I
victory.
did beat Nintendo.
All
YouTube
right.
victory, and my channel is back to working order.
So yeah, if you guys are interested in anything going on with the fantasy league, check out keepingkayfabe.com where Peyton updates the scores. And I believe right now Jester's still in the lead. I don't think I've overtaken him yet, but who knows? Maybe my trade with CM Punk's gonna end up working out. Mega Powers Radio for our Raw post show and eventually our pre-show for Night of Champions, which we'll fill you in more later on. Remember, everybody, about that whole guest writer situation with Smark Out Moment. Send me in those emails if you're interested in writing for Smark Out Moment. Fanboysanonymous.com for everything geek, as well as if you're interested in writing for that. Outonlimbs.com for my social commentary stuff. The Bleacher Report card we already took care of. I got a new post coming up on comicbookmovie.com that I will be sharing with you guys on the Twitter and Facebook accounts, .com/TonyMango and .com/amangotree. So look forward for all that kind of stuff if you're interested. And if you're not, fuck you. That is going to do us in for episode 95, everybody. We will see you with episode 96. And thank you to everybody who did the show. Thank you to everybody who listened. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out. Adios, everyone.
Baby, I'm outro. There ain't no number that could buy the power I possess. Oh no, or try this.
This is the worst outro ever.
Walken. He sounds like Christopher Walken. Outro. This is